what has happened stemming from the New Year message given by the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the last general elections in 2023, Mr. Peter Obi, where he gave his opinion, his 2 cents about how the nation can get better and how leaders need to be held accountable, very categorical statement. And there was a rebuttal, by the camp of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, Mr. Felix Morka'S, who speaks for them, who said most of what Mr. Obi said is just about doom, and he has never seen anything good in the country, and that especially on security, everything is, yes, granted, according to him, there are still challenges, but things have gotten better. And the only thing Mr. Obi said, has been seen, it has always been gloom and doom, and he's the biggest doomsayer in the modern day Nigeria, and all of those things, and that he should really stop, or, he has crossed the line, and whatever comes for him, he should be ready for that. And that has not gone well within the camp of Mr. Obi, who has seen that and said, it is a threat to my lives. Many of his supporters as well have said, you don't do that. That's a direct threat. But Mr. Morka'S replied to say his words were taken out of context and he's not in any way threatening Mr. Obi. And in fact, yesterday, he gave his own opinion again to say he has been threatened. He has gotten more than 200 direct threat messages, and so he's looking like allegations and counter-allegations. But we'd like you to just, take a look to that particular interview where Mr. Morka'S said I'll use those particular words.
No. He is the one that's throwing that. Mr. Obi is shooting from the hip. He's not looking. He's not taking an aim. He just, shoots widely like, what we used to see in movies back in the day, in the Wild Wild West. He is not being rational. He's absolutely irrational in his thinking. And in his public commentary, for a man who was governor for 8 years, who left nothing to remember in Anambra State by way of a legacy or transformation, but all of a sudden, he served as governor 8 years. He didn't have the wisdom or the smarts to change Anambra State, to make Anambra the beacon, that example of, governance in the country. But then, he runs for president, in 2023. And then now he didn't win. He's sulking rather than actually get a perspective and, figure out what he did to lose so he can do better in the future. He would think that he can bring down the government by simply, being maliciously deceptive. That is wrong. I'm not somebody to, to go on that offensive in that manner. But Mr. Obi has crossed the line so many times. And I think that at this point, he has coming to him whatever he gets, he needs to manage it.
All right. To shed more light into that for us, we have been joined virtually by Dr. Moses Paul, team lead of Free Nigeria Movement and Obedient. He's popularly called Dr. Mo. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, and it's good to be here.
All right. Thank you very much. It's supposed to be, and it was, about the state of the nation, where Mr. Peter Obi gave his opinion, saying in 2025, this is the way we need to go, and this is the course that the leaders should, chart. And since he said that, there has been reactions and counter-reactions till we got to this point. Let's start from the state of the nation and going through what Mr. Peter Obi said. You said truly the counter-allegations from the APC to say he has gone overboard and he has never seen anything good in the country. Looking through your own prism and assessment, maybe the APC have a point.
Well, I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago in 2024 when the government said that the refineries were going to be working at some certain capacities. And we woke up that morning to Mr. Peter Obi's tweet, encouraging and being excited about the refineries. And he made a tweet and the government was very excited about it and there were reports. So that's one clear evidence and an indication that if things are working, the first person to applaud the government is Mr. Peter Obi. He has consistently said that should things work, if things work, if we have a Nigeria that is working, that meets up to standardization of any developed nation in the world, I can tell you Mr. Peter Obi will support anybody who is there in the helms of affairs. And if you listen to the brokers, like I've said over and over again in different stations, that it is not an off-cuff speech. It is a recorded message. He read a script. And I will say it here. It is the National Bureau of Statistics of Nigeria that gave the data that over 100 million Nigerians can barely eat a day, that we live in what is called multidimensional poverty. That's about 130 to 150 million Nigerians live within this bracket. What it means is that they have no access to electricity, they have no access to health care, they have no access to the basics of things. This is what it means to say that a nation is living in multi-dimensional poverty. I mean, within the last 18 months, fuel has moved from less than 200 to over 1,000 naira. Bags of gari, bags of rice, the common people can't eat. People have said that the minimum wage that was raised can't even buy a bag of beans, can't buy a bag of gari, can't buy the basics of things. This is the reality. These are data. These are not just somebody coming up and making up things. The fuel that we buy and the pain and the angst and the hunger that is in the land. I mean, just a few weeks ago during the Christmas period, over 100 Nigerians died for queuing up to collect food. That is the level we have been reduced to. It is data that states that we are amongst the poverty capital of the world. This is not your word. This is not my word. This is not Mr. Peter Obi's words. I can go on how we have been reduced to second-class citizens in our own country. But how be it? Mr. Peter Obi's speech also, and like I said, I've never seen this anywhere in the world. I've traveled extensively across the globe. I've never seen a leading opposition leader coming out to say that even though here is the data, here is the truth about a country. And don't forget that this is a man who goes around the country over and over again. I give you a simple example. Just the crossover before that press conference was given, Mr. Peter Obi traveled from Onitsha to Lagos to Abuja on the 31st of December. He attended the Dunamis crossover vigil, left there at about 4 a.m. in the morning. By 7 a.m., he was at the Durumi internally displaced people, where he offered them money and gave them a lot of things, and saw over, I mean, we were there with hundreds of thousands of people. You know, he left there and went to the primary health care, where he had donated some money before. He inspected what was done and also gave them additional money. And afterwards, he flew to Jigawa State Governor, commiserated with him over the loss of his some of his siblings. And that same day, left for Mina, where he had commiserated with the chief servant, the former governor of Niger State, Muazu Aliu, and also went to see the former military leader, IBB, and they had some indoor closed meetings. And he came back to Abuja to meet with President Jonathan that same day, right that same day, and then the next day, he had the press conference and left for Lagos to meet with former President Olusegun Obasanjo, and afterwards visited with Dele Farotimi. This happens just within the first few hours of the new year. So this is somebody that truly cares for the nation, visiting with the low and also the mighty. And in that press briefing, Mr. Peter Obi was very clear. He advised the government on what to do, how to do, and when to attend to things, telling them how the president can visit with some of the health national hospitals in the country and how he should spend his holiday in Nigeria. He talked about the length of time and the money that was spent in the last year over foreign trips and what that could do if invested in the country and how the people will feel. I mean, who gives out his secret, you know, to the government? And then you do something like that, and then Mr. Felix Morka comes up to throw a direct threat to say And I need us to be very careful. This is not just an ordinary citizen in Nigeria. This is the National Publicity Secretary of the ruling party. This is a message that was given from the ruling party, you know, to say that, Mr. Peter Obi, you have what is coming to you. It means that they've been planning. He came out to affirm what Mr. Peter Obi has been saying, that his life is threatened, his business is threatened, his associates are threatened, everything around him has been threatened. And now, televised on national TV, Mr. Felix Morka'S has given the message by the ruling party, a ruling party that we have seen the brigandage that they've caused to the election, from Imo State to Kogi State to all the states in the country, to Edo State, where they clearly rigged the elections and ensure that, you know, you can see now that they're coming out to threaten the biggest opposition leader in the country. And I asked this morning, if telling somebody that he has crossed the line over and over again, and he will have what is coming to him, he will have what is coming to him, and he should manage it.
All right.
What is threat?
Yeah, Dr. Mo, course of time, before we go to this allegation of threat to life, Mr. Morka'S said, you know, in that interview of his, to say, why is Mr. Obi pontificating? He had 8 years in Anambra State, and there is nothing to really show for it. Is the one now that is now pontificating and, you know, giving people advice on the state of the nation, and to say that nothing has really improved in the nation, that will be a lie. That yes, there are challenges, but the president is really working. Do you see it in that light as well, to say, Mr. Obi had 8 years, and there's nothing to show for it, according to Felix Morka'S?
I mean, this is where the twist really gets interesting, because let's look at the record. Mr. Peter Obi was president over a decade ago, between what?
He was governor.
6 and 20 and 2014. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Good. I need you to Google. It's so beautiful that we live in the best of times. We live at a time where you cannot be bamboozled. People can lie to you. Whatever I've said here today can be verified 100%. And this is where the APC and Mr. Felix Morka'S have gotten themselves truly in the biggest of trouble. And this is not going to go down well. So let's look at some of the record. Not my record, not Mr. Peter Obi's record. The Debt Management Office, during Mr. Peter Obi's reign as a governor, his tenure as governor, said Mr. Peter Obi has the best of record, unprecedented in Nigeria's history, the least debt from the management office. The educational department also said that Mr. Peter Obi was able to, due to his investment, returning schools back to the missionary, his investment in schools in Anambra State, that Anambra State, within the tenure of Mr. Peter Obi, moved from 26 in performance to #1 in the country. I need you to go and check the Bureau of Statistics today, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. It shows clearly that Anambra State has the least out-of-school children as compared to any other state, including Lagos, including any state in the country. This is not my statistics. This is the Nigeria National Bureau of Statistics to show the investment of Mr. Peter Obi in education. During the period and reign of Mr. Peter Obi, Anambra State had the most peaceful, it was the most secure time in Anambra State in terms of their security. Mr. Peter Obi also paid all the arrears, billions of nairas that were accrued to pensioners during his tenure. Unprecedented in the history of Nigeria. I'm not just talking about Anambra State. These are the records. You can Google them. You can check up. The Gates Foundation gave Mr. Peter Obi the best of record in terms of his collaboration with multinationals, bringing in laptops to the schools and all of that. These are records that are still there. All you need to do is just to Google it. So for somebody to come on national TV to say he left, in fact, that is, I don't even know what to say about that.
All right.
Okay.
I have no words from Mr. Morka'S.
Dr. Mo.
These are records that I've read to you about Mr. Peter Obi's achievement as governor of Anambra State. unprecedented in Nigeria's history.
Dr. Mo, all you've reeled out points for us and achievements Peter Obi achieved during his time as governor in 8 years. And now I want to bring it down to his New Year's message, his New Year message, where he also talked about a lot of things going wrong in the country and then offered preferred suggestions or solutions to these problems. Isn't it too early to actually be judging the current administration? If Peter Obi had 8 years, we just have about, let's say, roughly 19 months of the current administration. Isn't it too early? People are looking at it that Peter Obi is coming too early to judge this current administration. If he were to be in power, if he had succeeded to be the president of the country, would he have been able to achieve these highlights or achieve these things he had highlighted during his New Year's message in these few months?
Again, we're back to statistics. You could judge Mr. Peter Obi within the 1 year of his tenure in Anambra State. But how be it? Let's look at this. This is 18 months. This is about 2 years now since, approximately 2 years since the regime of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And don't forget, this is about what? This is over a decade of the APC's reign as government. Don't forget that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said he's going to continue from where President Muhammadu Buhari stopped. Don't forget that Mr. Felix Morka'S is not just, he's speaking from the APC. So we're looking at the APC reign, we're looking at the tenure of the APC. And no, it is not too late. Even Professor Wole Soyinka said after a year that he will begin to judge the government. After 1 year, you can judge, you can scrutinize, you can criticize any government. Don't forget that within the first 1 year of this presidency, not my word, National Bureau of Statistics said that the judiciary under the last 18 months, under the last 1 year, has become the second most corrupt institution in Nigeria's history. That is, it is the institution that has taken bribe more than any other institution. The same National Bureau of Statistics said that within 2024 alone, that we have paid, that Nigerians have paid over 2 trillion to kidnapping and banditry in the country. It is still within this regime that countless of people have died within this year. So I don't know what we want to wait for. Do we want to wait until we are all dead? History showed that Murtala Muhammad, as president, only spent 6 months as head of state. And when you go back to history, because Nigerians forget very easily, Nigerians don't read anymore. Within 6 months of reign, we can see his policies, his programs. We can see the relocation of the federal capital. We can see many bold programs that have been done. Great leaders of the world do not even need to spend 6 months, do not need to spend 1 year. So I can tell you that 18 months of a regime is too much. We have given too much latitude. We have given too much grace. Otherwise, Nigerians will end up, completely gone. And we're
the president has come out to say that we're initially living a fake life. So he's actually trying to bring the country to a stable condition. That before we were borrowing for just living a fake life. Now, and he also reeled out some of the achievements thus far in his New Year's message, at least for the refineries that have come into play, and the Naira has dropped, and some other things. Majorly, he said that we're living a fake life. So do you think this in any way has something to do with the government or his tenure being this shaky?
Well, it's good that we're hearing this from the government. You should keep gaslighting and insulting Nigerians. You came into government, you moved, the Naira from over barely about 300 to nearly 2,000 to about 1,600, which is still the amount up to today. The pounds has gone over 2,000 Naira. Fuel from over to 200 to 1,000 plus, and you are looking at Nigerians who cannot eat, who cannot move, who can't do anything, and you're talking to them. We can continue to talk to Nigerians that are dying every day. It's okay. If that is what success is, then let's continue. There is no problem. We are hearing what the government is saying. And since we have been living a fake life all our life, and now this is what it is. And this is why we're saying that it has gotten to the point where sometimes when you listen to the APC, you wonder if we're in the same country. You know, it's evoke confusion. It evokes some kind of emotions that speaks about a people that want to really plunge this country into destruction. Number one, we live at the time where you can't even protest anymore. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is like the leader of protests. I mean, he led several counter protests. Today, you can protest in Nigeria. You remember during the End Bad Governance protests. Have you ever heard about End Bad Governance in the history of Nigeria? Except for this regime. But guess what? Children were picked up and put behind, incarcerated for months and starved. We saw that on national TV. Dissenting voices. We saw what happened with Delifaro Timi, where police left Ekiti, crossed the jurisdiction, kidnapped him, abducted him from Lagos State, took him and remanded him in prison for a law that does not exist in Ekiti State.
But that will not be an handiwork of Mr. President. Why are we, singling out Mr. President for this one? It was
I don't know why we're taking. We're taking things out of context.
Okay.
Afe Babalola does not control the police of Nigeria. We're talking about APC. We're talking about the reign of this government. Why do we take who controls the police? Who controls the military? Why are we talking as if we don't understand context? Does Afe Babalola control the judiciary in Nigeria? Does it control the police? We're talking about a system of governance. This is why we're saying Mr. President is blaming those who organize, what's it called now? Different organizations that led to the stampede, that people were killed. Are they in charge of the security of the nation? So now when things go wrong, we should blame individuals. What is the job of Mr. President? What does the Constitution say regarding the responsibility of the government of the day? Why are we mixing politics with governance? This is what we're talking about. This is the APC government we're talking about.
All right, Dr. Mo,
they should be held responsible.
Yeah, sorry. I had to put that because, of course, there is a principle of separation of power. That is what the executive are meant to do. The judiciary have their role. The legislature have their role. So if there is something untoward in any, in the system, and it's always traced to any precedent that is there part-time, that is what I'm saying. There are agencies, there are institutions, there are ministries, and if something has gone wrong and we point it to the president, would that be fair? That's the point I'm making, irrespective of the party power.
We saw what happened during when President Olusegun Obasanjo was president. When there were issues with the police, the police chief was sacked. When there were issues with the judiciary, we saw things happening. We saw people. I mean, let's give a very clear example.
Right.
Just a few months ago, the governor of Zamfara State came out to indict a chief of the military and said that he's the one, that Matawale is responsible for the banditry in the state. And then in turn, Matawale came out on national TV. These are not my discussions. These are on national TV. He said that if the governor is not part of the arrangement, that he should take the Quran and swear. And I'm asking you this morning, you remember in Edo State, just a few weeks ago, a content creator got to the middle of the road and took a bucket and was bathing, because we now have gullies and boreholes in our roads. And guess what? Rather than the government being ashamed to window dress and quickly do something, like they used to do when we were growing up, when they become irresponsible, they took him and they put him behind the police custody. This is what is happening in our country. If Mr. Morka, who has come out to threaten Mr. Peter Obi, if he's not sacked, who is going to be held responsible? The buck stops with Mr. President.
Yeah.
This is the point I'm making, and I need to understand the context. When things are going wrong with ministries, with different parastatals, with institutions, the buck stops with Mr. President. We hear about people who steal in billions of naira, but nothing happens.
All right.
We saw a former governor who has stolen over 100 billion, but he's been celebrated. Where do we draw the line? Yeah. Where do we stop?
talking about drawing the line, actually, let's talk about these allegations of threat to life. We took the excerpt of that particular interview, and I'm sure you have seen it over and over. Mr. Morka'S said Mr. Obi is a doomsayer and he has crossed the line and he should be ready, paraphrasing his words, for whatever is coming at him. And Mr. Obi came out to say that is a threat to his life. Mr. Morka'S replied to say he never meant a threat, and that, his words was taken out of context and he's not threatening anybody. Shouldn't that be it? Shouldn't we just take him to say these guys that was said to have, threatened somebody, he has come out to say, and they mean no threat, and that is it. But instead, he has come out yesterday to say his own life is being threatened. And many persons are saying, is it by the obedience? So I'm asking you two questions. Mr. Morka'S denied the threat. He said he's not threatening. Do you abide by that? And why are Peter Obi supporters threatening Mr. Morka'S? Is this a tit for tat thing?
I mean, I think first and foremost that Mr. Morka'S should have been picked by the intelligence, or be picked by those who are supposed to pick him up, as Dr. Shehu Mahdi has been picked up, as Dele Farotimi was picked up, as several other people who came out to protest and make allegations were picked up, because Nigerians can see. And I'm happy that what he said was televised, and this brings to question the confusion that the APC, the dangerous game that they are playing, the rhetorical recklessness of the APC. You come out and threaten somebody. And like I asked, why are the APC behaving like bandits? Because it's only bandits that will send a message to you and then come out and say they are playing about it. I don't understand what it means when you tell somebody that what is coming to you, what is coming to you, meaning that you have been doing something on the ground, you've been harming him, you've been doing something, and now that he's going to receive it full blown, but you come out to deny it. I don't know what that is supposed to mean. And if Mr. Morka'S is saying he's been threatened now, trying to play the victim card, he has not apologized, he has not been picked up, but now he's coming to say that he's the one that is being threatened. I don't even know what that is supposed to mean. And I heard him very clearly. He said he has over 400 threats and 200 death threats. Maybe we should have those allegations out so that we can measure it with what he said. And that can, but that is just for public opinion.
And Dr. Moore,
without playing...
Are the obedience responsible for those threats?
Did he say it is the obedience? I don't know. Is there anything that I've said this morning that is a threat to Mr. Morka'S?
No, I'm just asking, because many persons will say the obedience are fierce and loyal supporters of Mr. Peter Obi. So, and many of them online have been saying nothing should happen to our principal. And if anything happens, we will not take it lightly. Do you share that opinion as well, as an obedience?
I share that opinion, and I'm saying it, that Mr. Morka'S and the APC should be prepared. Should a hair come out of Mr. Peter Obi's head, they've already said it clearly. And let me make it very clear here so that we don't misconstrue anything here. The obedient are loyal, are dedicated to good governance. They are anchored on the ethos of accountability and integrity. You might call us any nomenclature. You might talk about a cult following. You might talk about fascism. You might talk about anything you want to talk about. The reason is because the obedient are against the old order. They're against corruption. They're against anything that does not want the progress of Nigeria. They're against Mr. Morka'S, the APC, and people who come out to threaten people and at the same time lie about it. They're against people who cannot secure the country. They're against, how can we have paid over 2 trillion naira in a country where people are hungry to bandits in a year? The obedience are against any program, any policy of government that does not want to see the progress of Nigeria. So call them whatever you're going to call them. They want a new Nigeria. They want a reimagined new Nigeria. And in their lifetime, they want to see a new Nigeria. World over, whether fight against the apartheid or fight against the civil rights movement, you must see a generation that must rise up. From the NSAS to the end-back governance, we will stop at nothing until a new Nigeria where there is peace, there is progress, there's transformatory leadership, there is rule of law and
Dr.
order.
Mo,
this is what we are fierce about.
Yeah, before my colleague comes in right now, so that we are categorical, we don't leave any space for ambiguity, you have said those obedient, and you have said you're part of them as well, they would not take lightly if anything will happen to the heir, on the head of Mr. Peter Obi. What are you going to do?
What are we going to do?
Yeah, I'm asking. So that we are categorical, and it will not be a case of what's taken out of context.
We will hold Mr. Felix Morka and the APC government responsible. He's a spokesperson. He is the publicity secretary for the APC. So he's not just speaking in his person in his justice as an individual capacity. His words are the words of the ruling party.
Okay,
they will be held responsible.
Dr. Mo, you talked about speaking against bad governance and everything. Does it result to threat to life? Because Morka'S has also come out to say that he was also threatened by the obedience at some point, and he brought it to the table of Mr. Peter Obi, and he did nothing about it.
Mr. Peter Obi has consistently, the obedience are a dedicated group to the rule of law and governance. You saw what happened during the 2023 general election. We were beaten in Lagos, we were shot in Rivers State, we were burnt in Kano. We lost a lot of people. The obedience are at the receiving end. We are not in government. We don't have knives and cutlass and guns. We have been thrown at every point. We are always at the receiving end. For an election we won that was picked up from us. All we are saying is that we will go through the democratic process. We believe in the rule of law. Our loyalty is to Mr. Peter Obi. Even when we came out after the election to say that we want to protest, Mr. Peter Obi said, calm down. Whatever you need to do must be within the ambit of the law. He went to the court. And guess what? Going by data again, so that I'm not taken out of context, it is the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics that said that the judiciary is the second most corrupt institution in Nigeria's, history. Which means that for every time they tell us go to court, they're telling us to go to court because they've bought the court. And that is the only thing that the obedience can do. To be very clear and categoric.
Explicitly.
We are law-abiding, and we will hold to account whoever has made a pronouncement. This is why what Mr. Felix Morka'S said is not going to go. We're not going to let it go, because until the security institution bring him to question, where they can categorically examine him like they do, we're never going to stop.
Can you actually speak
for the obedience to hold to account?
Can you actually speak for all obedience? Can you actually say that for certain that some obedience are not laying out threats to some persons who do not align with the Peter Obi ideology?
I would say align to the Peter Obi's ideology. Mr. Peter Obi's ideology is transparency, is accountability.
Because that's where Morka'S is coming from. He said, whoever does not align with Peter Obi's ideology is like an enemy of the obedience, and they always
I
seem
would not
to
address. I wouldn't even belittle this conversation to addressing people who do not live in Nigeria, people who have several allegations against themselves, people who and to put it on record, there is nobody dead or alive who has insulted, who went to London to stage a protest against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who called him a criminal, who called him a drug baron. You're talking about, these are the words of Mr. Morka'S. Is that the person you want me to come, who denigrated Mr. President more than anybody else, who assaulted and abused? So do we want to go there? All the unprintable names that he called Mr. President, is that the person you are talking about?
Yeah,
so let's not even do that, because we are law-abiding people. But I can state it very clear that while I cannot speak for all obedience, because I can speak for the ethos, for the integrity, for the transparency, for the accountability, principle on which the obedient movement is founded.
All right, because of time, many things to really ask, because this is about our country. We are all passionate about this nation working properly. So whatever strategy we take, or whatever ethos we believe in, it should be for the workings and progress and prosperity of this nation. But quickly, because of time, 2 or 3 minutes to go, I'd like you to be quick on this. There have been talks of mergers. You know, politicians are aligning. We are seeing meetings all over the place, announcement, pronouncement. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar seems to be open to the idea of a merger. He has called on your principal, talking about Mr. Peter Obi, the Labour Party, all of the opposition parties to come together and align to rescue, you know, the nation. That was the language being used, from the pranks of the APC. You know, even yesterday, there have been talks and all of these things. The obedience, are you open to the idea of merger? You know, because you have said you believe in the ethos and the principle that has been bodied by Mr. Peter Obi. If Mr. Peter Obi will be open to the ideas of merger with other political parties and all these politicians that most of the obedience don't align with, would the obedience follow Mr. Peter Obi to wherever he goes?
You know, and these are very critical issues. Mr. Peter Obi, the obedience, we are all open to whatever arrangement that will be made. Mr. Peter Obi has categorically said that he is open to any arrangement for a working Nigeria. However, he is not about, how did he put it now? He's not about his margin with any group will not be about just to take over power. It's not just about state capture, to take over power, but to align to see that whatever will be done to ensure that the nation moves forward. The obedience are, we trust Mr. Peter Obi's judgment. We trust whatever decision he's going to make. We align to whatever arrangement will be made. However, it is important to categorically state here that Mr. Peter Obi's decisions and judgment, if you understand the power, and I mean the power in terms of the energy, the essence, the people behind Mr. Peter Obi are the determining factor. And Mr. Peter Obi's following is not transferable. It is an ideologically driven following. It is following a particular ethos of integrity, of transparency, of accountability that is seen, epitomized.
All right, Dr. Mo,
Mr. Peter Obi.
Less than a minute to go, and I take this as your parting shot. You have said Mr. Peter Obi's following is not transferable, but then the idea of merging can be considered. But then this merging that we are talking about, I hope you know that it might be with some of those persons, some of those individuals who have held power before, whom your group, the obedience, have turned to be corrupt. The people that you will not follow, the people that you didn't vote for in the 2023 elections. Now, if this merging happens and Mr. Obi aligns with them, what happened to your ethos?
In Nigeria, we have the good, the bad, the ugly. In every family, you have all kinds of people. Because people are bad, you will not say that they're not your family members.
Right.
You know, and it's important to put this within context. And guess what? The ability to be able to convert people from negative to positive is the ability of patriots. So we will continue to pray. I mean, we're not just going to kill every bad person in Nigeria, or we're not going to just not work with people in Nigeria because they are bad people.
Right.
Nigeria has all kinds of people. You know, we will continue to work to see that we'll improve people, even their thinking and their behaviors. So in that regard, Nigerians are still Nigerians, and we will try as much as possible to see how we can convert more people, make sure that they align from their bad behaviors to their good behaviors. So in that regard, you can't alienate every Nigeria regardless. But like I said, whatever arrangements will be made will be in the best interest of Nigeria as a country.
All right, Dr. Moses Paul, a team lead, Free Nigeria Movement, and a very strong, obedient movement member, has been speaking with us. Dr. Mo, thank you for your time and your take.
Yes, have a blessings there.
We appreciate you, and that will be where we take a pass and, you know, match the break, as they say.
Yeah.
It's all what's, you know, having a nation that we're proud of. So if the strategy will be A or B, let Nigeria just prosper.
Yeah, let Nigeria just prosper. That's all we're after. We also we're always ready and open to talk about issues that would help us move forward, that will develop the country, but we have to go right now. I remain Uzam Sukuchiku. We'll see you tomorrow for the last edition of this week of Morning Spring. Stay tuned.
All right, Femi Ojo is my name as well. Please, in whatever you do, stay alive and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Bye.